retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. They'll take for fantasy. Rage is like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution.
Welcome, everybody, to the After Hours Radio Show, the new and improved After Hours Radio Show, right here on Social Talk Radio with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Going to be a fantastic show here tonight as we jump into our second episode of this new series, and we couldn't have anybody but our special guest, Sir Bryan Bowden, coming in to join us. We're going to be talking about the phenomena, attempting to interpret it, many parts of the phenomena, and we're going to definitely be diving into each of those parts here tonight, guys. So glad you could join us right here on the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Definitely want to jump out there and say hi to a few of the people who have come in already, as we always do. Miss Catherine Jones in the building. Miss Catherine Jones, thanks for coming on in. Round of applause for Mrs. Catherine Jones. Dealing with some stuff, and healing energy and everything goes out to you and the family out there. Also, Kitty Catty Whack. Kitty Catty Whack is in the building, as always. Front and center, appreciate you coming on in, Kitty Catty Whack. We also have Jessica S. Jessica S., thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing on up here. We got Cosmic Joe in the building. Cosmic Joe, thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on up to the show here tonight. We have, obviously our guest, Sir Bryan Bowden, in the back there. Appreciate him as well. And we're going to have a fantastic show. Whether you're joining us live or you're joining us on Team Replay, we are going to get it in, as we always do, right here on the After Hours Radio Show. So what I would hope is we can take a moment. Anybody that's already here, let's go ahead and hit that like button if you could. Right under the screen, the like button and the subscribe as well. And I'm actually just getting over a cold here, attempting to. So my voice is a little out of character, but we're going to push through because that's what we do. And the only way we can continue to have this conversation is doing it at times where you just might not feel like doing it, right? And it's still going to be a great show at the end of the day. So I appreciate all you guys coming on in, joining the conversation. You may see me taking a drink from my beverage occasionally, which I never do on camera, but you may see me do that here tonight just because of what I'm dealing with here. So appreciate your patience and support as we get ready to get into the show here. We got about a minute and a half left. See you guys filing on in. Roger Murray, I see you out there as well. I know you're going to drop some knowledge on us here tonight, and I appreciate you doing that. So whenever you feel like dropping the knowledge, Roger Murray, I'll go ahead and address it here. So appreciate you with that as well. And once again, we're going to have a great show. It's a lot of stuff going on in ufology. This is a crazy year. So far, as I kind of predicted it would be, we got the notice of Disclosure Day, the movie coming out. We got that news like late last year. And based on what I feel like the impact that's going to be, I just knew that there were going to be other things that kind of attached themselves to it leading up to that. And we've seen that thus far. A few other things we're going to go over as well, because we have the President of the United States who has come out as well and said, release all the files. Well, we'll see how you guys feel about that. And also our guest, Sir Bryan Bowden. So we're going to get ready to get going here in just a moment. Guys, let's get ready to go. Greetings, social family. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Social Talk Radio, the home of truth transparency. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. Best believe you can catch us on YouTube.com. If you guys haven't already found out, you can go ahead and hit that button. We would like to see you come back for more. Also, you can follow us on X and Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media accounts at Mr. Rob G. It's all the same. We appreciate your support there, and we will be having a great show here tonight. We're going to have Sir Bryan Bowden coming in, joining us for hours 1 and 2. Hours 1 and 1.5, then we'll do some UFO news there at the end of the show. So I appreciate you guys all coming in, showing your love for our guests as we get ready to bring them on up to the stage. Sir Bryan Bowden joining us, podcast host, UFO researcher, all of the above, as you'll see here. Always a great conversation with Bryan, and we are going to jump right on in to the show and bring him on up. Sir Bryan Bowden, how are you today, sir?
I am doing really, really good. I really do appreciate you, not me, having me on your new show, basically. So I wish you a lot of success, and we're going to work on getting you more subscribers, just like I need them at Third Eye Live, which is hosted on my account. I'm tired of putting up like 15 different channels. I just focus on me. So @ Bryan Bowden with a Y. But I just think it's great, the music, you as the host. I mean, it's this great crowd. So the last time we did it, I did it in my car. I was in Tampa in a mall parking lot at 10 o'clock at night. And by the time the show was over, I got home like 3:30, 3:45 in the morning, because I had to drive 3.5 hours from that point. So, but it was a great show, and love being here. So hello, everybody.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, and as well as your channel. You seem to have the same drive as I do, as far as really trying to. We're not just doing this show to do a show, right? We're trying to get the answers and trying to figure out what's going on, why it's happening, and just adding to the story, right? And that's kind of where I want to start. Being that you've been on the show many times on the other channel, on this channel, this actually is the first time. So I would like to kind of go ahead and get started with you telling everybody who you are, how you got into this, and we'll go ahead and start there.
Sure, that's not a problem. I mean, because my bio is way too long, although I've used AI to shorten it, like make it a little more condensed. Bryan M. Bowden, I am a Knights Templar, a real Knights Templar. I follow the traditional Knights Templars philosophy, not these fraternal organizations that say they're Knights Templars. I started off with architecture and engineering. I studied some physics and astronomy growing up. I thought about doing that. And then, you have to make money. So we went into business. But throughout my entire life, I've been researching and investigating UFOs, cryptids, high strangeness. I mean, you name it. And I do it because it's, one, you want to see these things. And two, more importantly, you have questions that need to be answered. And that's what I'm looking for. Answer some questions. I want to have certain experiences. And so I've been researching all that stuff for the longest time. I am a remote viewer, and I do have psychic abilities. I do readings for people. Most of my psychic abilities have been used. Somehow we cross paths, and it's a lot of people trying to commit suicide, and I've been on phones for hours upon hours talking them down from that. And so I've been doing this. I do my own show, excuse me, Third Eye Live every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. And the premise of the show, I didn't want to do a traditional one. I don't interview people. I want to have a conversation like we always have, Rob. It's kind of like if we were sitting over in your house, just hanging out, chilling around. We would just go back and forth with the banter, and it's not an interview. I don't want to be interviewed, let alone have somebody else interview. So it's more of a conversation. But the premise of the show is how your third eye, your consciousness, a divine intervention, a dream, some interaction has led you on the path of where you are. So that could be music, art, science, paranormal, whatever it is. So it's kind of like an eclectic show. But I mean, we had John Iden on a couple of weeks ago. He's a Yardbird. We had Boone Froggatt from the band Otis, but we got Paranormal 411 coming up this week, and they just dropped tonight their latest documentary, The Legend of the Coochie Booger, which it just rolls off your tongue when you hear that. So I gotta go watch that in a little bit. But this is what we do, and you have questions, I have questions, and I love the interaction, not only with you, Rob, as the host, but also everybody in chat, like Kitty Cat Whack and Roger and Cosmic Joe, everybody that's there, because they are doing exactly what we're doing right now, and they're sitting in this, and we're having this conversation. So let's get it, as Marvin Gaye said, let's get it on.
That's right. That's right. And no, you're absolutely right. Our audience members are a very important part of the conversation. That's why one of the mottos here is "Come join the conversation," because literally the type of people we have here are ones that are trying to get the answers. And I have a problem with I don't like to waste people's time. Right? I feel like if you're going to come here, you should be able to leave here with more than you came in with. At least thought wise, like let's get some minds going here. So when we talk about the phenomenon, and I probably have asked you this, but I think it's still a very important question to ask.
Sure.
How do you go about making your work matter, and where do you hope? What do you hope to show by the end of your work when Bryan Bowden hangs it all up? What do you hope to show by the end of all this?
So I'm going to say this the easiest way. I am 100% shadow banned. What starts off, because I'm trying to speak the truth to people so they are aware of what's going on, not just in the UFO community, not just globally. I do not like when all of us are, hey Jess, hey Woo. I don't want us taken advantage of. I want people lied to. I don't like that. That is not how we're supposed to be. It doesn't, and we're so fractured. The powers that be fracture us, white, black, green, blue, pink, gay, straight, abortion, no abortion, what, cut the crap. Folks, it's we the people. We need to put all that junk aside, because this is where we're going down a really dangerous path this year. And I discussed a bit more of it because I do a prediction show every year. So I want people to say, hey, Bryan was straight up. He's the real deal. If you meet him in person, he's the same person you're there. He does give a shit. Sorry for the cursing, and I'm going to curse. He does care. He's told the truth. He's warned you about that. He's helped you. And he's made this world a better place. And that's what I do. And I always tell people, listen, there are no experts in the public eye, not one of them. So when you see people on there, we have a UFO expert on, bullshit. There are UFO experts, but they're never coming forward unless they're forced to. There are people right now, you have hypothesis for cryptids, let's say Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever it is. And it's a hypothesis. It's like an idea, a concept, a theory. So there's no experts because none of us have a physical Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever. But I will wager the farm there's a lab right now, or several of them, where there are scientists in there going, yeah, that's a Bigfoot. That's a Dogman. That's this and that, that they've captured. So when someone comes on it and says expert, I always stop them immediately. Sorry. I'm not an expert. I have a lot more experience than 99% of the public. Some of it is stupid. we always have a plan A and a plan B, but both A and B are, wow, we've really done some stupid stuff. That's dangerous. And I'm coming from that experience right there. Another thing, and I think I've said this with you a couple of times. I don't want anybody that's listening or watching to this show be it podcast or whatever, even in chat, I'm not here to convince you or sell you on anything. What I'm asking you to do is take what I'm saying and do research. And start doing the research, not just Google. You gotta start using browsers and vehicles that are not compromised. That would be like the Brave software, brave.com. You can download that. It used to be DuckDuckGo, and then they got purchased by Google, one of those. So it's a give and take. Let's work together. I'm very free with my information. I give credit to people. But there's a lot of people in these fields. They're greedy and nasty, and we don't need that anymore. I'm not a kumbaya guy by far, Rob. But if you're gonna recite and tell a story or my experience or whatever, give me the damn credit. Like, hey, I was listening to Brian and he did X, Y, and Z. Because one thing I'll tell you, I'm really, really nice. I can be a really great guy, a really good guy. But if you mess around with me, the Russian comes out. We don't forgive, we don't forget, and there's not a place on this planet you can hide that we will not find you. I'm just telling the truth. So that's why I'm always very much get more from from honey than lemons. So I'm always working, anytime I want to get you back on the broadcast to help, if I can get you over that 1,000 milestone, which is so huge at this point. I'm so close. And that's what we do. Sorry for talking
But
too
see,
much.
here's the thing, and no, that's great. And I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate your no BS approach to this. Because I really think it matters as far as the work that we're doing. Because one thing that I hate gets under my feathers all the time is the appearance of our community from those on the outside. When I hear people on the outside talk about this community, they talk about it's a lot of BS going on, a lot of people lying, a lot of just disingenuous, a lot of charlatans, a lot of grifters. And I can agree. See, the thing is I can agree. There definitely is a part of this community which definitely falls in that category. But I feel like the work that I do, I feel like the work that you do, and then others that I communicate with, it's separate from that. Like we're actually out here trying to have the real conversations, and we will call out BS when we see it. We will, and that's why I appreciate how you are, because I know you will do the same thing. So how does that affect you? Like when you're going around and attempting to present your information on these larger stages or in rooms where you want to be taken seriously, and then that whole stigma is attached to you, how do you kind of process that and get through that?
I mean, it's I'll give you an example. We did a conference in Pine Bush, New York, which is like the East Coast Roswell, right? Whitley Strieber had a house up there. It's in Crawford, town of Crawford. And we did during the day at this UFO fair, we did 3 1-hour presentations and then 3 half-an-hour presentations, and then monitor our booth. And after that, we promised to do a CE5. I don't call it CE5. I've been doing this long before the word CE5 came out. Well, it's been out since Hynek, but somehow Dr. Greer, bullshit artist, has co-opted it and made it his, it's I came up with it. He didn't come up with shit. And basically it's an active intelligent encounter, and that's what I call them. I use it constantly, where you use your consciousness. And this, I'm going to say it right now. The word consciousness, the concept of consciousness, is the key to everything here. And they're slowly figuring out they don't really know how it works, but the minute the consciousness puts that thought in your head, okay, it's immediately uploaded to the main source called the Akash record, where past, present, and future take place. And anybody that can see that and read that has access to it. And that includes the extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, ghosts, demons, angels, everything. And they just don't understand the full concept of the consciousness. So when people, we were doing this conference, and I brought in a UFO. We had 130 people there, men, women, families, the chief of police, and this ginormous craft appeared over our head, gunmetal, with a huge center dome LED. And it's the kind of LEDs like where you're probably using right now. I mean, I have them in there. It's bright, but you can still see the details that's holding it, the housing. And you can see the hexagonal pattern that's holding this thing in. And when I tell you it was huge, it was acres wide. Acres wide. It was just hovering over us. Everybody was going nuts. And then we were communicating. Hey, we were signaling. It would signal back. I said, can you go out into the distance to those mountains and start doing 90-degree turns? And I did this with with my green laser. So it blinked out. We saw something shoot over there in an instant. It was at the mountains, probably about 40 miles away, if not more. It blinked, and then you watched it go and do 90. I mean, it was just doing things we could not do. Then it disappeared. Everyone went nuts, and I said, can you please come back? And then it appeared over our heads, and it was there. I thanked them. Everybody was just in awe, and it disappeared. The next day, her name is Dumani. I don't think she works for the town of Crawford anymore. She called us up. She goes, what the hell were you guys doing up there? And he's like, well, what do you mean? She goes, the phone's ringing off the hook. What did you do up there? And we said, we brought in a UFO. And I said to her, why don't you ask your chief of police? He was there, who I've been dying to speak to, but the bastard won't speak to me about it. But we had somebody, we did like a presentation during the day prior to that. And there's always somebody there, like, I was just not in the mood. And my buddy Al was just pissed off because we were the last ones, and they kind of wrecked everything. They didn't even promote us. So I said, I got it. I didn't want to speak that. I mean, so I got up there, and we had the first question. Seeing as though the speed of light is the fastest that we can travel, how can you explain? And I said, no, you're wrong. The speed of there's something faster than the speed of light. And he's like, well, there's nothing faster. I said, wrong. It's thought. And he's like, well, I got him. He wanted to be that guy that put the zinger in there. And I just was not going to have it. I don't have it. Again, I don't sell you anything. I said, if you want to bring out a chalkboard, I can start writing down formulas, but that's about as exciting as watching, the Amish play ping pong or churn butter. Okay. So he settled his ass down. I say what I say. I mean what I say, and I stand by what I say. If I get something wrong, is it embarrassing? Yeah. But I will admit to being wrong about something. And it's just, you're always going to come up opinions. Pardon the expression, opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. So there's always going to be the good, the bad, the ugly when it comes to that. Like start whistling now. That's what you do. This is what, I'm not going to get into a fight with you over it.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody does have an opinion, and as you stated before, no one has all the answers. So, really, all we can do is sit together and try to figure this thing out together. Now, there are certain individuals that I feel like, are focusing more on the stories behind what's going on versus trying to figure out the next steps and how we move forward. So, okay, we have the data, we have the answers. As far as what we've been able to gather, here they are. Now, what are the steps that we take next? So, I wanted to ask you this,
Sure.
because I know you handle different parts of the phenomena with the Sasquatch, dogmen, UFOs, all of the things, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you specifically this: Oh, UFOs are currently in the disclosure pipeline right now, but we know there's other parts of the phenomena. So, if you had control over how disclosure went, even after the confirmation of UFOs, in what order would you release those different parts of the phenomena leading up to now everything is out? What would be
So,
your next step after this?
so are we talking about the UFO disclosure versus the cryptid, that
Well,
type of
yeah.
stuff?
So we know it's all one big picture, and I guess I'll have you answer this after the break because we're coming up on the first break. But what I want to do is see. Okay, yeah, you release UFOs. So
Right.
what do you do next? Do you go to Sasquatch? Like, how do
Well,
you meld the story all together, and then
well,
which parts do you drop in sequence?
I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm not releasing any information about UFOs. If I was the guy in charge, not happening. I'm
And why
sorry,
would that be?
and um, it is a
Your
direct national
perspective.
security risk for our country. We
Okay.
have more enemies than friends, and um, you can't reveal all that information. It's not. You don't tell your enemies your defenses and your offenses because that is a direct threat to your way of life. Um, and I know this is hard to hear, but that's what I would do, and that's the main reason why they're not well. That's one of the reasons why they're not doing it. The other reason is I'm going to say it. We have a government within a government,
Right.
and the deep state is that government, the majestic 12, if you want to call them that, because I've talked to Eisenhower's granddaughter several times in length, and he never signed a deal. He would not sign the deal. But the same when he said no, they already had 12 individuals, majestic 12. They signed the deal, and hence why Eisenhower gave the watch out. You got to be careful with the military industrial complex. He's telling you, don't trust them. And there's reasons for it. Look at what we got going on right now. I mean, technically, we have the capacity and the ability right now. We've had it for, at least 10 years, where we could operate in this United States like a Death Star. We could pull energy from the sun and literally focus it on the entire country of Iran and liquefy it. That's what we can
So
do.
that's interesting. I want to talk to you about that after break. So it
Sure.
almost seems like you think maybe we have a part in the technology and the ability to use it. Interesting. We'll go ahead and jump into that right after we take our first break right here tonight
Sure.
on the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and our guest tonight, Sir Bryan Bowden. Always controversial, always on point. We'll see you right after the break. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are clear for a 5 minute break here.
Sure.
And I'm going to step out real quick. My voice is acting up. Guys, forgive me tonight. I have a little something going on with my voice, getting over the sickness. But we're going to go ahead and make sure we push through and bring the pain tonight. So
Yes.
see you guys right back here. You can talk to the audience, do whatever you want, Brian. I'll be right
Sure.
back.
I won't give away too much information. Hey guys. Hey Woo. Jaquetta. Who's there? Roger. Oh, that Mark Getty guy's here. Actually, how's it going, Mark? Cosmic Joe. Dead fish cheese spread. That sounds like lox or salmon spread. And it's Jessica S. How's it going, everybody? Hope everybody's getting a good night. We got that new moon. I think it's a full moon, if I'm correct. It's good for all you cardinal signs out there. That's going to be a good thing for you. It's going to make your life a lot better. Hola. New moon. That's right. New moon, 0 illumination. Yeah. And that's the problem with YouTube right now. YouTube has been changing their algorithm. Even Mr. Beast lost a whole bunch, and all these big famous people are losing subscribers because you get to a certain point and they're not getting new subscribers. Either you watch them or you don't. So what they're trying to do is go and get some of these up and coming people to get a little bit more on the algorithm. But YouTube, what they did was they do a tiered alert for a show. And that's why when you watch Third Eye Live every Wednesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., I'm going to promote it. We have a pretty long opening. We have 2 songs in there. And someone complained like your opening is too long, and they don't understand that you could start a show and YouTube will decide 5 minutes after you start to actually initiate that alert. So it's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. YouTube does some funny things. And we you know, there's examples of and without going into politics, government secrecy when it comes to free speech, and when it comes to speaking about this is one of the most important topics in humanity's history. And you know, I think when you speak the real, if someone told me, okay, if you're not super huge, they're not going to focus on you. But I beg to differ because I think if they see someone delivering a message that they know, okay, this is early, but now if this were to grow, this could be a problem when it comes to
Right.
you know, combating the powers that be. So they want to get you early when they see that you're driving the right message and trying to
Yeah,
unite people.
when you were broadcasting from SOR, um, you actually brought your own flavor and an audience, and the people immediately connected to you because I mean you play great music. It's always was great. You're knowledgeable on the subject. It's kind of like I don't want to use some, it's like a chill environment. There is discussion. No one's harassing you or me or like you're wrong. It's a great vibe. And for the love of God, I love Dave, love SOR, and but you started doing it earlier because there are people like myself on the East Coast. Let me tell you, when you guys go from 9 to 12, that is 12 to 3 for us,
Right.
and it's really hard to I mean, Dave used to go 3 hours. And the problem with that is like you kind of getting fall asleep. But by the time the show's over, you're so pumped that you're up for another hour, just going, "Oh, it was a good
Yeah.
show."
To the
You never
next
get
day,
sleep.
exactly.
Right. So there's not
Now
like
I'm
a
with
happy
you.
medium. Yeah.
I'm with you. That's exactly why I chose to go earlier. You know, while I was there, for that very reason. There was guests on the East Coast like yourself. I would have you on. And I just felt bad. I'm like, man, 2 in the morning for you, just to kind of help the show go. And I know you didn't have a problem doing it, but
No,
it's a
I
lot
mean,
to ask for
I'm a
someone.
helper. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm helping. I always get the call from Dave when a guest cancels, and sometimes he actually has me on as the guest.
we're coming back right now.
Sure.
Edwin Garrett, thanks for the comment. All right, everybody, welcome back to the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We're getting back into some awesome conversation right here with our guest, Sir Bryan Bowden. He's the man that takes no BS. He's the man I've heard that had 10,000 podcasts. He's the man that's all over the place trying to get the answers that you want to the questions that we have about the phenomena, guys. And that's why I love having him on, Sir Bryan Bowden. Thanks for coming back.
My pleasure.
You know, we were running into the break there, and I wanted to know, like, and you dropped a bomb on me. I didn't expect it for disclosure in the path that you would take, because I've always been the one to say, you know, you don't, just like you go on a first date, you don't hit your
Right.
date with all the weird. You show your best self. Then a little bit later on, you hit them with all the weird, and then it's like, okay. So, you know, and that's how I think the UFO conversation should be introduced to the audience, to newcomers. Like, hey, we have these things, they're in the sky, they're weird, they land, and then when they land, at times things get out of them that are alive, that are not human. And then, so let's get that nailed down. Then we can start having the more weirder conversations on the other things that are happening. And I think the other parts of the phenomena kind of fall in place after that. So, you
Right.
know, you already stated that you wouldn't do UFO
No,
disclosure, and you explain why.
I mean, again, I'll explain why I wouldn't do it if I was in charge, because if my job is to protect we the people, Bill of Rights, and the U.S. Constitution, I have to do everything to do that. And because we have more enemies than we care to have, it's not a wonderful kumbaya world. I've got to keep certain information close to the vest. That would be the UFOs, the technology. Now, you can say in an official capacity, UFOs are real. We know about them, and we know about their technology. We're also going to let you know that there are non-human based entities that exist that have visited not only Earth, but specifically the United States of America. We are in contact with them, and we will, over time, give you a description of who they are and, you know, and where they come from. That's not a national security issue because everybody's pretty much stated it. But there's many problems here. I studied sciences, all the different sciences, scientific methods, astronomy, physics, which does help in my research, because not that I don't practice science. I'm not a scientist. That's my pet peeve too. That another guy we know had that, but if I can replicate something that leads more on a science guideline, there's certain foundations that I'd like to adhere to if I can. But it's if people understood what exists and how many different races exist and where they come from. Well, everything that's been taking place on this planet is BS. The fossil records, BS. I mean, the historical records are BS. And how do you explain that if they've been lying to you this much, and we have these beings coming in, Nimitz, Tic Tac video, whatever, and we can't do anything with them? Why should I listen to what you have to say? Why do I need to stop at the red light? Why am I not robbing a bank? I mean, forget church. Is Jesus an alien? Because there are a couple people out there putting out that theory as well. And there were, it can cause a big problem for people. I'll give you an example, not UFO related. I did a presentation. Actually, it is a little UFO related. I was at the Vanished premiere and conference in Alabama in March of this year, and my presentation was on human mutilations. I am the only person that I know of publicly and on record, UFO Witness Season 2, Episode 2. I'm not doing that as a pat in the back. That's where I did it. that has publicly discussed human mutilations because it is a really tough subject. And I went into cattle mutilations, what it looks like, and then the human mutilations and what it looked like. And I even incorporated Dovlov Pass because some of the bodies found there in the images matched the mutilations that were found in cattle and the other humans. And then I was explaining about extraterrestrial biological entities. Those are clones. They make clones. Everybody makes clones. The little grays are clones. And every once in a while, they go off the ranch and they have a taste for certain types of nutrition. And we're part of that. So, and then they got to go wrestle them up and then start again. So, when you start talking about this stuff, how is the general public supposed to handle that?
I'm with that.
It's
I'm with that.
pretty tight, right?
It's funny you bring that up because we just literally on Tuesday of this week did a show on cattle mutilations, and I just said at the time I was like it should be a very important part of this conversation because it shows once you get down to the bare bones of it, it shows that human beings aren't doing it. It shows that predators are not doing it. So it only leaves something else that isn't one of those two things. Now, will I say extraterrestrial? I won't put the label extraterrestrial there, but I think you could assume that it's probably something like that. And then if they're doing that, they're not just doing cattle, they're doing other animals also. Then they're not just doing other animals, they're doing humans as well. Now, look, here's what I said, Brian. We look, and I think one of the big reasons why I think it's been able to die, and be pushed to the back is because cattle, when we look at cattle, it's our food source, right? We have slaughterhouses where we are unaliving cattle all day and all night over there. So the connection isn't really there to really care, right? It's your food source.
Right.
Now, if these things were mutilating your fur babies, if there was an epidemic of fur babies being unalived all over the planet, it would be a huge issue and a huge topic.
Yeah.
It's something that everybody would be talking about.
Exactly. But again, of the 100%, there's at least 20% that would never buy anything that's being presented or told to you, no matter how much evidence you brought forth. There's another percentage that are just like, back and forth with it. And then there's the final percentage that are all in on it. They've been doing it. They've been researching it, whatever. People don't understand there's a super soldier program that's been going on for a long, long while. It started back in the late 60s. If you remember getting your ears tested at school, remember that? That wasn't to see if you can hear and your hearing's good. That was seeing if you can understand and get certain frequencies that you should not be getting, which dictated that you may be part of a line or a genetic line, star children, if you want to call them, and you were of a certain elk. And that's what the program's for. So when you get into this whole subject matter, it gets scary. Someone put up the Tic Tac video or mentioned that in the Nimitz. When that was released to the public, that was how many years ago? 2017? Am I close? Something like that, right? Yep. I saw that. I think 20. Yeah. I saw it a long time ago before it happened, before it was public. I remember seeing it. Now, again, I'm researching multiple sources, some of which are partially dark web and whatever. I've been given things from phone numbers and email addresses that say USG, but I can't get the header or any of the technical stuff behind it where I can trace it, and things are dropping. Like, you'll get this, like, who is this guy? And they'll make sure if you don't open it within a certain period of time, they'll do it again and again and again. Get your attention and you do it, or they'll text you, go look at your email. There's a video of a tall gray. These are like I would say more than like 7 feet tall. Those are the ones with the longer faces. I call them the ambassadors because those are the ones that are interacting with the humans here. And it's a video. If you're looking at it, the gray is on the right-hand side. There is a gentleman with a beard and mustache. Looks very Latin, and I think it took place down in South America, but I don't know what country. And that guy that's human is pointing to different areas and saying, okay, you got to go over there and do whatever. And the ET is responding to him. And it's just matter of fact. I saw that video that was sent to me on my old phone. No voice, no nothing. It just bing, it appeared. And one day I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I open it up. There's the video. And then only recently was it really popular, but I saw that a whole bunch of years ago. So it's someone wants to get the truth out. They're going to try to get the truth out. But what you're witnessing now in the UFO community and the disclosure community is smoke and mirrors. It's garbage. You're wasting your time.
When you say that, are you talking about the government aspect of this? Or what part is smoke and mirrors to you?
Well, the only people I believe in that end of the story and the testimonies are the actual pilots. These are people that were, they're testifying, and I believe them. They're talking about a Tic Tac video and the Nimitz and all that other stuff. The Goresh, it's all hearsay. On top of that, and it's no disrespect, people have a mental health issue. He's got mental health issues and problems, and he's taking certain medication. It's all hearsay. As far as Lou is concerned, I've said this before, that man is a disinformation agent for the United States government. He has not lost his credentials or his clearances. He's still doing his job. And just put that in the front and back of your mind when he says, we're trying to give you the truth. No, you're not. Smoke and mirrors, okay, on that end of it. And someone mentioned something in there, again, about Tic Tac and the Nimitz. If we have a secret space program, which I believe you believe as well that we do, that, skunk works, what better way to test the abilities of these new reverse engineered craft than against our own military? And I think everything you've seen there is U.S. based reverse engineered craft on a testing run.
That's a slippery slope right there. And I get it. There's arguments from both sides of that conversation. The secret space program piece, I essentially where I believe that part of it is that there's no way they tell us everything they launch up there. No. I live by Vandenberg Air Force Base. They shoot things off all the time. So who knows what is actually going up at what time. And so I can almost guarantee that some of the stuff they're sending up, they're not telling us about. So there in turn is a secret space program. Now, as far as that goes, I don't know. But here's the thing. This is what I think is where we're able to kind of sift and weed through the BS that's presented by whistleblowers or just by general information in the community, period, is to weigh, I feel confident enough to say, to weigh it against what we know historically. So I always look for that. When a whistleblower comes out, I never believe everything they're saying because nothing is 100%. So what I do look for is some of the little nuggets, some of the little things that line up perfectly with things that have been reported historically, because I can say, okay, that little thing there, we can validate that based on historical data. So I think it just allows us to kind of find nuggets in everything. Just like, for example, the latest UFO release, the government UFO release. A lot of people said nothing burger. And really, there was a lot of stuff that had already been released in there.
Yep.
However, there's a video I did on this channel, guys. If you go and check it out, it's like a 10-minute video talking about what was more alike about some of these videos based on what we know. And the little eight-sided object. So a lot of people were hooked on the shape of that. And they're like, wow, there's this. So I'm like, no, let's discount the shape of it. Let's look at the behavior of it.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the behavior and we see what it's doing, how it's moving, the fact that it's leaving a trail, I pointed to other things that we know historically that are anomalous and unproved that can't be proven that line up exactly with how that was moving. So if we take the shape off the table, I think we can say the movement was anomalous. Therefore, it validates the video itself, confirms other things that we knew historically, and then lends credibility to that particular video release. But I think if we take that sort of approach, then you don't have to just believe everything that's being put on the table by a whistleblower about a government, but you
Right.
can pick out little nuggets that
Here's
line up.
right. Here's the problem with your theory and on that, which and I appreciate what you're saying, and I understand that. But if we start going back to the fact that they've lied about almost everything, scientific data, fossil record, we haven't even explored our own oceans, let alone space. We don't even know if we actually went to out, off the stratosphere or not. They don't allow you to go anywhere near space. You have to be approved for that because they know that if you were able to get in a craft right now and shoot yourself off planet and out of our protective shell into space, you would see craft after craft after craft, all different ones, different extraterrestrials, all hanging out there, like people used to hang out on Friday nights, at the gas station or whatever. And how do you explain that to the public? How do you explain that? Yes, I believe we actually did go to the moon, but I also believe that you hedge your bet by getting someone in there to film a fake moon landing. So if something goes wrong, we have the backup. Okay. And I also believe that people took the fake stuff and they all compiled it into one giant, just put all that moon video here and had some of the fake videos and some of the real videos. And now the people involved don't know what's fake and what's real. So that's one thing. But as far as, using the information that has been provided for us, how can you validate that information? How do you know it's real and use that as a basis? They could just feed you certain things here and there, knowing that, well, if people go research it, they're going to look at X, Y, Z, P, D, Q. And as long as we fill in the blanks there and get something there, it'll gel with what they're coming up with now.
See, I should have been more clear on that. When I said on historical data, I didn't mean government historical data. I mean
okay.
evidence that we've captured. So
Right.
as citizens, because unless someone is within our community is just faking videos, we know some people are, but for the most part, we know a lot of the data that that citizens capture is going to be authentic. I'll take it on the face of it. Now, the government, obviously, you just can't buy any of that. So what happens is that you have a bucket of historical data taken by citizens, videos, orbs. Like, for instance, I compared the movement of that eight-sided object to the way orbs move on a Ring camera. If you ever seen them move, they have a trail. I also provided evidence of things that we captured in the sky that make the same sort of movements with trails. So it's like, okay, if we have all this evidence of data we've taken that shows this sort of movement, and then you compare it to that video release, well, you see a lot of things that are similar more than that are not. The thing that isn't similar is the shape. And I think if people, my whole point is that people shouldn't get caught up on the shape and say, wow, there's an 8-sided UFO. Don't
Definitely.
focus on that. Focus on the behavior. Because I don't think I don't think that was the actual shape. There's going to be skeptics that will explain that away a million different ways too. So let's not even worry about that.
You're 100% correct. So we have different types of automobiles. Some look really hot. I saw a purple Lambo today that had my name on it, and then I saw a lime green one that I'll take that one too. And then I saw like a Prius and like some Chevy something, whatever. It is not the look of the vehicle that you should get excited about. It is its abilities and capabilities.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say it. I think I talked about this on the last time we talked, and I posted the link in that chat. But during the October 7th thing in the Middle East, when one country, Israel, started to bomb Iran, and Iran started to respond, I'm sitting there watching this coverage live as it's happening, and center screen is the classic TR-3B, and it is shooting down these missiles coming in. Now, I don't want to keep bringing them up, but I was on your former place, and I was talking to him about it privately because I'm friends with Dave as well. And I said, did you see the TR-3B in that footage the other night? He goes, yeah. I got a call from one of his friends. He has his connections. And they said, you're going to want to watch the news tonight. And I was sitting there watching this, and my jaw went, like, that's ours. That's the reverse engineered thing. And the difference between our technology and actual different extraterrestrial is, it's really simple, folks. If you get a crystal clear photo of it or video, that's ours. If you get a blob video or something that's blurry or moving, that's extraterrestrials. They've been in and out of this planet for billions of years. They know how to hide. They don't want to up to this point, they don't want to make themselves known. But I'm going to say this, and I did this on the prediction show with my remote view for 2026. You are going to see this year, the same craft is going to be visible around the world. You'll get it in India. You'll get it in Moscow. You'll get it in China. You'll get it everywhere. The United States. It's the same craft. They're going to capture it on True Video. And I know we got to jet out, right?
Give this prediction right after we come back from the break, guys.
You got it.
We're going to be right back. We're at the top of the hour right here
Conversations
on the After Hours Radio Show. See you in a minute.
That move the needle.
You're listening to the After Hours Radio Show with Mr. Rob G. Where truth and transparency matter the most.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Only on Social Talk Radio.
All right, we're clear. We'll take a 5-minute commercial break. See you in a minute.
Sure.
welcome back. Welcome back. We are now jumping into hour 2 right here on the After Hours Radio Show. We're coming back from our break here in about 30 seconds here. Guys, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, take a moment, hit the like button right under the screen. Also, consider hitting the subscribe button. We love to have you back. We do this show. We do the Wednesday show, which is the definitive UFO news show. We have the Friday show, which is the Friday night live call-in show, which is a show for you to call in and jump on stage and talk about your opinions on the phenomenon. We're coming back in 3 seconds here, guys. Let's get ready to go. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are in hour 2 right here on the new and improved After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are joined back with our guest, Sir Bryan Bowden, host of the podcast Third Eye Live. Right? Third Eye Live, that's right. Got to make sure you guys go on over there and hit the subscribe button. Great conversation as we're jumping right back into it. And we ended the last hour with you making a prediction. You talked about you made a prediction, and so I'd like to hear that prediction, sir.
Yeah, I remote view 2026. I am a remote viewer, and one of the things you can do is you can see past, present, and future. And so I do this as well as for readings. By the way, everybody has the ability. And if you want to work on it, start using binaural beats, do some meditation. I would highly suggest the Gateway Experience or tapes. And I'm going to tell you they're available for free on YouTube. Go search for them. By the time the first disc is over and you get to, the 5th or 6th program, and all you got to do is listen with headphones, you will have an experience that will blow your mind, and it starts to, go from there. So I did a prediction that a UFO, the same UFOs are going to be seen all over the world. Kind of think Independence Day when it appeared in Moscow and over the White House and all this stuff. Okay. What's happening? It's all going to be caught on civilian video, as well as, mainstream media type of stuff. Is going to be no denying. Everybody say it's going to be broad daylight type of stuff. And what's taking place is, first of all, disclosure actually took place in 1977 with the release of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Dr. Hynek was in it. I will state that right there. And it's a global. I personally believe Spielberg was trying to make a documentary, not a movie. But with all this BS surrounding and smoke and mirrors and all this other stuff on the disclosure in the U.S., and we have the largest amount of technology and reverse engineered stuff, the extraterrestrials, from what I understand, have been in contact with the people in charge saying, you need to tell them or we'll do it. And they were waiting for us to be at a certain consciousness level and aware. And I think they are going to do the disclosure. And we're going to know by the end of 2026, not from the government, not from Luna, not from any of the other representatives. The ETs are going to make their presence known. And they're going to be like, we're here, and we're not here for Chick-fil-A or anything else. We've been here, and one race of extraterrestrials or species. Way back in, I had a friend who unfortunately passed away before December. His name was Derek Tyler. And he wrote Alien Encounters and Inconvenient Truth. I'm butchering that. Sorry there, Derek. But he's been abducted by multiple different extraterrestrials, including our government. And we were always had these discussions. What's your guesstimate on how many species are known? And we were like, 200. So we were in the 125 up to 200 different species. And it's not just extraterrestrials, it's interdimensional, it's energy beings. It's, there's a variety of different types, silicone based, triple helix, all these different types. At this point in time, there's been talk, if you start following the right people and listening to them, there's at least 400, if not 450 different types of species that have traveled throughout multiple galaxies and have been on this planet and continue to do so. So we have a lot of different species out there. And I think they're going to make their presence known. Well, at least one of them. And once they do, then that's where real true disclosure will take place, because the government's going to have to. People are going to force them to. And then maybe the world will be a better place. And maybe these ETs will get rid of all the BS and the deep state and all those evil people out there doing stuff to us. So let's hope.
Yeah, yeah, I would hope so, man. And here's my thing, when we get, obviously there's definitely going to be a lot of different species. We're one of them. We're aliens to other aliens, right? So
Yeah.
we're one of them, one amongst millions likely different intelligent species out there. So there's no doubt that there's probably some large number of beings out there. But my whole thing is, in the way that I would like to approach it for most people, let's just start with one. Let's just start with, hey, we're being visited by something that isn't from here, likely others as well. But let's just, on the face of it,
Which
say
one?
that, without even putting a number, because we're
So,
unsure of which
right.
ones are in which craft, and you know what I mean?
What I would do, if you want the disclosure, here we go. I would say the Anunnaki are real. They have been here. They have returned, and there's different variety of Anunnaki. That's where Enki comes in and the creation of humanity and stuff. That goes against all the Judeo-Christian Muslim, teachings, right? So that's going to be a big, hard pill to swallow. But then I would sort of segue into saying that we have been visited by reptilians. We have been visited by insect-based beings. We've been visited by light beings and energy beings and Nordic and interdimensional beings. And we're constantly meeting new and new beings on a daily basis. Okay. I'm going to tell you something that happened a couple of months ago. I know people that do stuff, they're former military, retired, whatever, and they do threat assessments and stuff like that. And one of them is my best friend. I met him when we were probably about 8 years old. And he knows what I do. I've given assessments to a civilian general. And I know I don't have a security clearance, but I'm born and raised in New York City. I know body language. I read it like a book. And when I went through, give them your assessment of what's taking place right now, this was a couple of years ago, and I went A, B, C, boom, boom, boom. He was like, like that. I just had this conversation with a colleague at work, because, some of these people in the government think that they're all high and mighty, but see this? I have a brain. I know what's going on. I mean, most people get their information in 30 seconds on YouTube, but we grew up differently. And so you have to go to multiple sources. So he contacts me and he goes, Blue Kona, do what you do. So I said, okay. And I sat there and I remote viewed it. Now, Blue Kona, or Kona, is really good coffee from Hawaii. But there is a program that was called Blue Kona, and it's part of ATIP and all this, these other, what in the disclosure movement. And what they wanted to do was monitor all craft coming in and out of this, the planet, and all extraterrestrial beings on the planet. So they said, no, we're not going to fund this. We're closing this program down, like hell they did. I was in the underground base. I was in the operations room, and I remember standing there, and it's kind of like a rectangular door, and it's darker in there, and they have these serpentine desks with people, military base looking official outfits sitting there doing their work. Huge amount of screen in the background, and every part of the planet is covered visually, and they have all these little dots on there. There was one guy that was standing there in a darkish blue suit, and he had 3 stars on his lapel. but it's not the traditional stars. It was like a star, like a 5-pointed star or a 6-pointed star, and the center had a hole in it, and then there was a dot in the middle. And it looked very similar to Space Force, but it wasn't Space Force. And that individual, don't know his name, looked at me and turned around. He saw me there and said something, and then the yellow lights go on, meaning we're being watched. So I left there and I traveled into another tunnel that was like a triangle, and I saw a big like fishbowl glass room, and there were individuals in there looking at a containment area of another extraterrestrial in there, more of a gray, medium-sized gray. Then I walked into another hallway, and somehow I came into a room, big hangar. There were other craft in there, and I saw human beings and a variety of different extraterrestrials, one of which their face looked like a star. You ever draw, like, you ever see some of the emojis of the sun? It's all these extreme angles, and then there's a happy face in the middle. Well, this thing, I saw that in real life there. There was another one that looked like, it's kind of hard to, like a bass, like a human bass that they had gills, huge gills that went like this, and it went long down in the back, and they were interacting with other humans there. So I know these programs exist. I'm surprised that I know there are times when my text messages, I delete stuff, they undelete it, and then they copy it. And I've literally texted them saying, hey, I deleted that for a reason. Can you fucking delete it back, please? Because it appears again. I've been on a phone call with a gentleman out of Canada. We were talking about other stuff, talking about them mining the rings of Jupiter, some extraterrestrials. And what's interesting is when you have those cars with the CarPlay, and you call, like if I called you, Rob G, and I have your picture in my phone, your phone number, I would see your face on the screen. And then anybody chiming in, that would come on the screen and show it. Well, we're having a conversation. I was stopping at a light down in Florida, and for a split second, all zeros popped up, and it said USG. And it was a split second. I was lucky enough to see it. And I said, by the way, we're being listened to right now. And he goes, the guy on the other end, they're like, I don't give a shit. Like he doesn't care. He was old enough. So I'm surprised I'm not under more of this stuff. I think we should all, like with what you do and other people that research, investigate it. I think we should have a pool who has a thicker manila envelope file wise. But I do believe this is what's going to happen. We are going to see the ETs themselves. I don't know what race, revealing themselves to us, and there's no stopping it from that point. It's, we live in a dark world, and without going to get political here, and I don't want to be, but we have a lot of individuals in a secret governments within a government, and they're all in cahoots with each other, and all this controversy and turmoil and all this stuff, it's their plan, but that's not what the ETs want.
Well, let me ask you this, because it kind of ties right into that.
Sure.
So what do you think then about, if you've been looking around the community, a lot of guys out there that normally understand this, that the government will not disclose this information, all of a sudden, because you have a president step out and say, release all the files, they're now crowning this guy the disclosure president. They're giving this guy a pedestal, putting him on it, calling him the disclosure president. And these are the same individuals that fully understand that the government is not going to be the ones to release the information. Now, before you give the answer, I want to show this. I want to play this soundbite that I have that kind of even goes against and kind of, so it makes the people that stepped out on that ledge and then crowned another human being the disclosure president, who, by the way, is part of the government. We all understand that the government is obfuscated and kept the secret this whole time. and it is not in their best interest to ever release it. We
Yeah.
all clearly understand this. However, a lot of people stood out there and put it all over their thumbnails and promoted this in the community, which I feel is disingenuous. I will be doing a video about that probably later tonight. That'll be out tomorrow. So make sure you guys check that out. But here goes the soundbite.
It's about files pertaining to the assassination of JFK and MK Ultra, which was the CIA's human experimentation program. We have learned since our interview with Luna, the CIA marched into the National Reconnaissance Office warehouse in the middle of the night and took files under the jurisdiction of DNI Tulsi Gabbard. It was not a raid, and it did not happen today, but it did happen, and the files were not given back. Take a listen to my interview with Congresswoman Luna when we first heard the news.
Yeah, so we were actually just notified that the CIA went in and took documents out of ODNI, multiple boxes pertaining to the JFK files as well as MK Ultra. The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed, and so very troubling. I did just talk to Chairman Comer, and we are sending in the next hour or so a preservation of documents request to the CIA. I have calls into the White House to the director of the CIA himself, and so obviously as this develops, we'll keep everyone up to date, but strange times we're living in, that's for sure.
Does the CIA have jurisdiction to go into Gabbard's office like that and take documentation?
Well, the CIA does not have jurisdiction to work against an executive order by the president. And so the fact that someone did this when the president is out of country, from what I gather, I believe that Director Radcliffe is with him. And so this seems like it was an internal coup, to be honest. Oh, most certainly. Exactly what you just laid out is also known as the deep state, and there's a flush that needs to occur at the agency. I like Director Radcliffe. He's a great man. He's been doing a great job, but he is one man, and there needs to be massive instrumental changes and shakeups at the agency. I think the deputy director of the CIA needs to be backing Radcliffe up on those changes. But what I will tell you today, and just hearing what I heard about the overt efforts to undermine the president's executive order specifically pertaining to JFK, or I don't know, Congress's order to release and request the MLK or the MK Ultra files, all of that should tell you everything you need to know about the agency, and that it still operates, so it seems, out of the purview and jurisdiction of the executive branch, of the congressional branch, and that is unacceptable, of the legislative branch, excuse me, and it's unacceptable. And so, as you saw, Comer is working on that subpoena with me. We will send it in the morning if we don't hear back from the CIA. But either which way, we will find out who went into Tulsi's office and took those files. If this person, and this is not a threat, this is going to happen. If those files are not returned within the next 24 hours, you will be called, your faces will be made public in front of the entire American people. All of Congress will see it, and we will hold you accountable for going against a direct executive order by the president and interfering with a congressional investigation. So return the files, do not destroy documents. You will get a preservation of documents notice for Congress, and any member of the CIA that engages in undermining this investigation will be held criminally accountable. And I'm also waiting for a call back from Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general. We are not playing games with you. Return the documents.
All right. Well, Congresswoman Anna Polina Luna, great to see you. Thank you for joining us as always. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Okay, so just right away, obviously, this was going to happen. It's just kind of surprising that it's happening in front of everyone's face. But it just goes to say that everybody who jumped on the disclosure president bandwagon, which I really feel is disingenuous because those people know better and know that the forces behind the scenes were going to step in, as they always do, to go ahead and stop this process. So there's the example of it. We already know the CIA is listed to be the group that's in charge of the Legacy Project and everything else that falls up under that. So what did you think about that report? Were you surprised at all that that they would step in and take the files and do whatever they're doing with them?
Not surprised at all. There is a correlation between what happened to Kennedy and MK Ultra. There's also connections to other countries, and I'm not going to go there right now because I want to keep you on air. I'm not going to mention the country. There is a specific country, and they go hand in hand. What's interesting is if you start looking at some of the stuff that's been released, Oswald wasn't even near the book repository when the president was assassinated. So they have a lot of individuals that are part of MK Ultra and that are now aware of the fact that they were. And then there are still some out there that are like the Bourne Identity. You know, they don't remember their past, but they were trained to do X, Y, and Z. So they don't want that released because that shows how corrupt the government is and who's behind some of these things. So, but as far as Representative Luna, she could read the directions or the ingredients on a cereal box, and I'll still watch her. You know, I'm going to be straight up. She's beautiful. And it doesn't matter what she says. I don't even know if I'm paying attention to it. I would expect this to happen. There's a big problem here when the president, who's supposed to be in control of everything, is telling you do this, and somebody else comes in. That means the president isn't as powerful as he believes he is, and the office demands. And it's really upsetting about that. So look for that in relationship to UFO documents being released. Also look for the main players in this disclosure movement that are in Congress and the Senate. Some of these individuals may disappear or have accidents or unalive themselves. That's what I'm thinking at this point, because there's a lot more at stake here than people really truly understand. And look, I say let the chips fall where they may, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you know, I think the brightest part about that, if there is any good news there, is that she's willing to release the name of the person that stepped in and did this. So usually you don't get that. You don't get a person part of that shadow element named in the public. So
that guy will wind up.
If,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, go
that
ahead.
person will wind up jumping off a bridge or a building or something would happen. They're not going to let that person live. So whoever did the job and was following their orders, we've heard that before in a lot of things. I would really be in fear of my life. Just like if you're a scientist working on gravitational or seeding of planets or physics, you may want to put extra security in place because you people are disappearing too. There's something they're trying to hide from the public. And part of it is they don't want you to know your abilities as a human being and what you were designed for. And the fact that once this is what my show is, and once you use your third eye, your consciousness, and you start really knowing what's going on, they have no control over you. So they lose the control factor. That's, I mean, not to get spiritual or whatever, but it wasn't that, follow me, Yeshua said. He was saying you don't need the controllers, talk directly to Father. And they don't want that because what is everything in this world? It's all control. Driver's license, pet license, passport, church, temple, synagogue, mosque. It's all control. You got to be here and you got to listen to us. Otherwise, you're sinners and whatever. The people that are the power don't want to give that up. And they're scared out of their mind because, frankly, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in your chat, really good people, all of them almost, and they don't want to hurt anybody. They just want to live their life. Leave me the hell alone. Give me some information. But if you know the truth about what's been going on, and you're owed a lot of money, and you've been working your butt off, and you got sick because you were working extra hours, and you didn't have to, and they were lying to you.
We'll be right back after this final break right here on the After Hours Radio Show, right here on Social Talk Radio with your host, Mr. Rob G, Sir Bryan Bowden. It's going down. We're getting to the last half of the show, guys. See you right back here. We'll be answering your questions as well. See you back in just a minute. All right, we are crystal clear. We go ahead and try to remedy my throat here. I'll be right back here in just a moment.
No problem. Candace, you are 100% correct. They really do think we're monkeys, like circus monkeys, and we're that stupid. And that's one of the things reason why they're doing what they're doing is humanity is waking up now, and they're realizing very quickly that you can't trust what the news has been saying, what your state, local, federal politicians been saying. They're done of all this BS. That's actually funny, Joe. Maybe he was cloned.
That's hella funny, Joe. That's hella funny. Let me give you a round of applause for that. Awesome joke. He says, I think Rob G has been cloned. They did a pretty good job, except they didn't get the voice right. Yeah, and I've been dealing with it throughout the show. It's been, highs and lows, and I think we're going to be good to go ahead and close the show.
That's why I've been, chewing on these bad boys.
I've been on all types of, it is crazy because I did a show on Tuesday. Great show. And then the sickness hit me, I think, that night. It was really bad Wednesday. It was sort of still really bad yesterday or Thursday. And I'm just now getting around it.
What I sent you, if you start taking that stuff, you're gonna feel a noticeable difference. You're gonna be protecting yourself, almost like a prophylactic. I sent Rob some stuff. I call it the Bowden cure-all. And if you do get ill, it lasts for like 24 to 48. That's it. Like, you remember the old days growing up where you didn't have a cold for 2 weeks, you had a cold for 2 days. So it's good,
Yeah, this one was kicking my butt, man. Oh, it was horrible. It's the worst. It's the worst. I haven't been this sick in, oh my God, years. I'm talking about. I didn't know if I was going to make it, dude. Really, that's what I was thinking. I was like, could I have caught that somehow? I didn't know if I was going to make it, dude. Like on Wednesday, Thursday, I was so like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, dude, I was like right there. And I just, thank God my girl, she helped nurse me back to health, at least enough to do the show here.
One of my friends he was a Rasta, white Rasta. And he had the dreads, and he used to do, what they would do. And he goes, you need to try this stuff. It smells and tastes terrible, but in like less than 12 hours, you'll be feeling like $1 billion. And he brought the stuff over, and it's basically it's these remedies that they don't want public because then it takes away from big pharma, So again, we need to get rid of all these people and start like from the beginning again. Like, no, we're getting rid of the Patriot Act. We want our rights back, and it's we the people.
That's
corporations.
The beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about disclosure, and that's the message that I push. Like, this is literally one of the rare times in humanity's history where we could have an effect on which direction we take post disclosure. And people need to understand how important that is. That is very, very important that you're alive and able to take part in a moment like this. That's why these conversations matter. That's why we get together and do what we do here, because you are in that moment where your great-grandchildren will look back on this time frame and realize that you took part in trying to shape and mold the future that they get to inherit. That's what this channel is based on and built on. That's what we do here. So if you're here for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button, that like button. We'd like to see you come back and for future shows. We're going to be teaming up with Bryan Bowden here, Sir Bryan Bowden. We need to do like some collaborations between channels and
definitely.
why not? You know what I mean?
Because I do all this stuff, and I want to report. There's so many people doing the same thing, and I don't like it. I post all my whenever I do research investigation, even when I was with Bronxville Paranormal Society, I said, this is how we're going to run it. We're throwing up the raw video. And my buddy was like, oh, we can't do that. I'm like, no, dude, we're throwing all the raw up. I'm going through everything, that one frame by frame type of stuff. And then we'll break it into what I heard and what I saw. The reason why is, this is what I say with everybody here. All these people in chat, all the people come by, I want you guys to be paranormal investigators, because it's like editing your own. Remember, in like junior high school and high school, you can't edit your own document. You have to give it to a third party, because you've seen it so many times you're gonna miss it. Yeah.
We are back on the last 30 minutes of the show, right here with Sir Bryan Bowden, getting into some really awesome conversation, guys. Make sure if you miss any of this, you hit rewind on this video, or you check it out, because it's totally free. You can watch it at any time. Share it on your social media. We would appreciate you spreading the word and bringing people in to have conversations that move the needle, which is what we do right here on this channel. And no, this is not my normal voice. I'm here sick today, but we're still having an awesome conversation. So getting back into this, Sir Bryan Bowden, we have, you talked earlier about Steven Spielberg and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We are coming right on up to Disclosure Day. Coming out June 12th. I can't wait till it comes out. This has been my perspective on it the whole time. I've told people Close Encounters of the Third Kind, based on the fact that he leaned on advisors to back that movie, and which is why it stands the test of time today. And it really depicts what this phenomenon is in detail. I've had people that argued and said, he's done 20, 30 other science fiction or alien-related films after that. None of those really seem to move the needle. And I can agree with that, because I think when you go into making a movie, you have an opportunity to lean on advisors and go with data to shape your movie, or you could go into your science fiction bag and just make things up if you want to. I feel like in the movie making process, that usually it takes, with the idea and then getting it put together, 5-10 year window where you're sitting there figuring it out. And that just happens to be the same window that we've been dealing with Lou Elizondo coming out saying, oh, this is all real. I think that was a revelation for a lot of people. I think Steven Spielberg included. So I feel like he's taking that ride with everyone else through this disclosure process, the first UFO hearing, the first UAP report, going through all that with everyone else, video releases, seeing what the government was willing to say. And I feel like, based on some of the trailers that we watched, that he may lean on advisors again, which is why he chose the title Disclosure Day. I think there is something more to it than just a movie. And I could be disappointed and find out it's just a science fiction film. But I really feel like he leaned on advisors. There's a lot of whistleblowers out there, people he could talk to. Jacques Vallée is still present with us, and I'm sure could advise as well. I expect the film to fill in a lot of blanks that we have in the conversation, or even parts of the conversation that whistleblowers can't really answer because of NDAs. Now, a movie creator could fill in those blanks because they're not bound by NDA. This is their quote unquote speculation on what those blanks might be, but not really speculation, being informed behind the scenes on people who are in the know. So I think maybe this movie could fill in blanks to kind of, give us the real picture of what is actually going on. What are your thoughts about the film? Are you interested to see it? And let's go from there.
So, again, I'm going to be suspect, because I have to be, because there's been so much smoke mirrors, fake information, distractions coming out. But I'm also reminded that, Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, and they asked him, like, where did it come from? And over time, you kind of get yourself your set of answers. But in a couple of interviews, he said, I've he goes, I don't really know the full, like where this really came from, but I know that there's some information. He said, I think I was abducted, and I think I was programmed to put this program out there, and the things, that path was opened up by other sources or other entities to allow it so that humanity can understand that we are dealing with different extraterrestrials, with different planets, and get more comfortable with it. I think with Spielberg, again, we have people that don't want it out. We have people that are trying to get it out and get the information through one party, then another party. And then I think we have ETs working also, and maybe advising you're talking about advisors, advising Spielberg and say, no, it's going to be like this. And he's just repeating what, doing what he's told almost, which would be, kind of an interesting concept. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but I have a hard time supporting Hollywood in any way, shape, or form these days after some of the stuff that's been in the news for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I just give him the benefit of the doubt because he didn't have to lean on. You're talking about a film with a large studio. There's a budget, usually a big budget. You have a choice on how you want this film to go forward. You could lean on advisors where you don't know if their data is factual or not.
Right.
But he chose to lean in on it and trust in what was being said. And historically, we see that was the right choice because
Yes.
it does still to this day reflect the phenomena as we know it. So I think he sees where that decision paid off. And I just feel like with this probably being one of his last films related to UFOs, seeing that the position that the people are in currently, wanting disclosure, but getting walked up to that line with, whistleblower admissions, still not being able to give you the full details,
Right.
and then being a filmmaker, you have that authority or that landscape to be able to fill in those blanks through storytelling. And I just see an opportunity there that he could take advantage of and go down in history as doing exactly what I hope he's going to do.
Can I put a caveat in there? So again, I mentioned, I alluded to some people that I know that work in the government. They get assessments, they get a threat assessments and assignments, and then they get information on it. And I've always said to my privately, when we've been in public, when I've met with them, and I said, listen, I know I don't have a security clearance. I'd love one. And you hire me and I have 6 digits to the left of the decimal point coming to me. Okay? Because I'll do whatever I have to do for this country. But I said, I know you get these security briefings and you get these jobs and whatever, but I'm going to tell you not to trust what you are given. You don't know the narrative of the individuals that are providing that information to you. And because you don't know the narrative, I think you sometimes have to dig a little bit deeper to see what the angle is. Because everything in this day and world is, narrative after narrative after narrative. And we don't know the good, the bad, and the ugly at this point. So I'm hoping this is, good, but I have a feeling like you're going to see these videos. I heard the clicking sound in the woods. They're here. They're going to be people that run with this, try to make some stupid AI videos with it. All that clicking crap, and we'll see.
Yeah. I was talking to my girl here. Mothman says Rob must have been screaming at a LED at a Led Zeppelin concert back in '73. Right. That's what it sounds like, man. I've been sick, and I appreciate everybody kind of hanging in as we get through this. Hopefully my voice isn't too bad. It's not normally like this. I have a awesome, great radio voice, so I hope you come back and see me next week, and I should be okay. But with that being said, as far as this goes, the hope is just there because I see, for instance, Donald Trump being the disclosure president. There's an opportunity for a person to try to put themselves in a historic position where you can't help but mention the person because they played a part in X, Y, and Z. That's the whole basis behind him doing this, and then everybody crowning him the disclosure president, which I think is just an oxymoron, really, because disclosure president is an oxymoron. They don't go
Yeah,
together.
it's a
But I think
disclosure. Yeah,
for Steven Spielberg, he's in a better position than a documentary filmmaker. So, I looked at Age of Disclosure, which I thought was a good documentary. I looked at Moment of Contact, various other documentaries that really put the story together for the people. But the problem with those is that they weren't big budget documentaries, for one. They were promoted to the UFO community. I don't know too many people outside the UFO community who had a chance to see those, even though they should. But I think when you have an opportunity like this, where Universal, I think, who's behind this, has a huge budget. This is going to be
Yeah.
promoted in all corners of the world, in places where people are not talking about UFOs. And so
Yep.
it is an opportunity to bring everyone to the table at once and then say, hey, this is the story, this is what's out there. And also, let me fill in some blanks for you. So we have an opportunity to get the globe at one time up to speed and then
Right.
fill in the blanks in front of everyone on the disclosure conversation. Now, Steven Spielberg, I don't know if you've, fully edited the movie. If you're listening, you got a chance, if you didn't do that, to go back to that film and make sure that those X's, there's T's and I's are dotted and crossed,
Right.
to make sure that this really plays the part that it could play. Now, this is my hope. I could be fully disappointed when the movie comes out. We do a review, say, oh, he didn't do what I thought he would do. But then we may walk away from it and say, that was the best UFO film ever. It laid
Right.
out the blueprint for disclosure, and here we are.
Right. I'm hoping that he is the disclosure president and he announces it by the end of, no later than the end of July publicly. Or he has his people, the government, saying, yes, we are in control of UFOs and whatever. Because that money I bet on, what is it, Kalashi? It's going to pay a lot back. So I have a wager on that he's going to. This is what I'm trying to say. I believe we're going to get to a point where they're forcing the humans' hands and saying, either you say it or we're going to do it. And, you got to wait to the last minute for that. It's crazy, but we'll find out. It's almost that summer blockbuster moment.
Well, I'll tell you what. Once again, Disclosure Project or Disclosure President is an oxymoron. And we know that same guy said other files are going to be released. He demanded those files be released. And they were not released. And then at the same time, he kind of, undercut them in the background. So, I mean, those are politics in the games that are played. Politicians say this in your face, and then they go behind closed doors and say, no, don't do that actually. And so that's why, I think knowing what the history is on the same person saying the same thing about other files and then having them undercut is just crazy for someone to hear him say, because you believe in UFOs, and now he mentions UFOs, that you crown him a disclosure president, knowing that historically he just hasn't done the right thing with files. So, and that's without getting political, because I don't care about either side, Republican, Democrat, I don't care.
They can disclose it. I mean, Luna could just leave an envelope on a desk accidentally.
Yeah,
Have
I
a
think
newspaper print it or whatever. But the way they do things now is, if you're given a packet, everything has a marking on it that goes right back to you, so they know exactly where it came from. So you better be prepared for the consequences of leaking the information, because then they're going to know who did it and who didn't do it.
disclosure for me needs to be everything. It needs to be
Good luck.
that's what I'm saying. That's why it's not likely ever to happen from the government. It would never, because that's what it will require. Because we've already had government officials say there's craft, there's beans, there's this, there's that. So aside from someone else just admitting that as well, we don't need that. We already have that. So what we need is the other stuff. So if they're not going to do that, then they're not going to bring disclosure, which we already know they're not. So it's not like a surprise that that's where this is going.
Yep,
But
that's
for
why.
us, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying this is why it's so frustrating that so many people are following this, following the hearings and following, and I'm like, you realize it's smoke and mirrors. Why are you wasting all this time on BS? You know what? When you have an interaction with a UFO, when you have missing time with a UFO, and you've been abducted or whatever it is, you don't need the government saying they're real. You know it's real.
Right.
You know it's real. So the really reason, and I say this all the time, the only reason why people want a disclosure so the government comes out, it's because they've been ridiculed their whole life for believing in extraterrestrials and little green men and aliens and all this stuff. And they want that one moment where they can go, I told you so. They want that one victory. But this is bigger than that one victory. Because once these ETs reveal themselves, we are going to go and jump like arc through a timeline. All this shit's going to pass, and we're going to be so much further ahead consciously and as human beings in this great world, So
let me ask you this before we got about 5 minutes left. Where does I feel like consciousness is probably one of the biggest parts of the phenomenon. What connects everything? Where do you think that's going to finally become part of the conversation? Do you think that should be next, or when should we be inserting the conversation on connected consciousness?
Well, I think consciousness is, and being conscious of what's going on and aware and waking up is the key to everything in this world, because they've spent, whoever they are, they spent all this money to calcify your pineal gland. They spent all this money to put fluoride in the water. They spent all this money to do these things to you to keep you down, because once you're awake and open and up, you have no idea how powerful you are. It's like it's connecting a network, a real network, and the only thing that we want is what's best for everyone. You're not dictating, you are not, holding back something for the other. You'll realize you will finally be walking in other people's shoes and be compassionate and know that we have a bigger purpose. And it's not to watch, like I went to Pitbull. I took my daughters there on Thursday. It's not to go to the Pitbull concert. There's other things that are important in life we need to take care of. And first and foremost is getting anybody that try to keep you down and lock your consciousness up in chains. So I think that's the key.
And go off of that more and talk about what you do with your show, what it focuses on, what you have coming up before we get up out of here.
Not a problem. So Third Eye Live focuses on people that have had, I believe when you go to bed, you get uploaded to Source, you get download new information, and then some of it's remembered as dreams, which are vague, or experiences where you're actually doing it. There's all this detail. And so some people have a religious experience. Some people have a visitation. Some people open up their mind to things. And this leads you down a path that you're supposed to be traveling to a higher consciousness and a higher level. And that's what it's about. Like, how did you get involved in UFOs? It is the craziest thing in the world, and cryptids that don't exist. Because there's more to life than 9 to 5 and all the other stuff. There's, science that we don't have, we can be unlocking. There's healthcare we can be unlocking. We can save lives of people that we love. There's a ton of those things. So that's, basically the show's about. And it's not just your average paranormal show. We have musicians, we have artists. We have my buddy Glenn was on there. He does this thing for vibration. It's drumming. It's a drum circle. It's just once you vibrate at a higher frequency, once you're in the positive, good things happen. If you think positively, positive things will happen to you. Try it. And it's hard as, if you're going through a lot of stuff, it's not easy. I've been there. But once you understand that, okay, tomorrow's another day, and you give that positive outlook, tomorrow is that next day, and then things start turning around for you. You find the $500 in a bag on the floor or whatever. It works out great.
Let me
Roger.
rapid fire a couple of questions at you real
Sure.
quick. We got about 2 minutes left. The Jaquetta, do you think some of the sightings are possibly holographs to confuse and entertain themselves on the public sphere?
Yes, I think some of that Jaquetta is part of they know that the disclosure is going to eventually come by the ETs. They've been warned and threatened. So they're going to try to use that blue beam protocol that they had in there where they fake an alien invasion. They actually are going to unalive a lot of people with real weaponry. And so they want you fearful of these extraterrestrials. Not all of them you have to fear. And I'm not part of the Galactic Federation. I don't even believe that thing exists, but that's just me. Thank you.
Cosmo Joe making a statement. Don't trust the government, anyone who is and was part of three-letter agencies.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't. I mean, like if you're city, state, local, federal, you've been lying to people and you've been lied to as well.
Edwin Gora saying, we did not have a functional toilet this last moon trip. How did we have one in the 60s? That's a good question, Edwin Garrett. Go back and look at our moon video we did on this channel. We kind of go over some of that too.
Yeah, I don't think we actually did another moon trip, but that's just my 2 cents.
No, we got to get you back off of that. Interesting. Roger Murray asked Sir Bryan Bowden question, why, sir, is your name was knighted by Queen Elizabeth?
No, I was not knighted by Queen Elizabeth. It was a fraternal organization. There are a lot of people that become Knights Templars. It has nothing to do with the Queen. I follow the protocols and the belief system of what the true Knights Templars were doing when they discovered that they were being lied to and they got enlightened. This is what they opened their consciousness, their mind. They went into alchemy and all these other mysteries of the universe, and they knew the right from the wrong. That's how it was. And I was knighted technically in a lodge, but I don't subscribe to what they're doing, which is more allegory. I describe what I do is in my heart, and now it's branded on my arm, which is a Templar's cross. It's doing the right thing, doing what God would want you to do. Kind of a little bit of the Yeshua stuff, or Jesus, if you want to call him that, and just right from wrong.
All right. We appreciate you coming on in, Sir Bryan Bowden.
No problem.
Appreciate you coming on in and having the show, man. We got to do this again soon.
Yes, and I got to get you on Third Eye Live again. So,
all right, man.
This summer's a tight time to do it. Like, are people watching or not? Or are they going out to the party? So, but Wednesday night,
I think a lot of new people will be coming in. So this should be. Yeah. I think we'll be ramping stuff up here.
I think it's going to be good. So here's to us hitting over 1,000, getting monetized, which means nothing at this point. But it just makes it feel good that you are doing what you asked me that question in the beginning. People love your show. They love you, the presentation. It's entertaining. It's fun. And let's stay together, folks.
You know it. Sir Bryan Bowden, once again, thanks for coming on in. We'll talk soon, man. Take care.
You got it. Be well. Good night, everybody.
All right. Sir Bryan Bowden, guys. Another awesome show, guys. Yes, it's about time to wrap things up and put another bow on another awesome show. Special guest goes out to Sir Bryan Bowden. Special thanks goes out to our team. That includes you guys. An extra special thanks goes out to you. Yes, you. We couldn't do it without you. We totally appreciate you coming on in and being a part of this show. We also want to thank all the new subscribers. Everyone who hit the like on the button here, hit the like button tonight. Guys, it's always a pleasure serving you as your host, Mr. Rob G, doing what we do best, which is pushing for truth and transparency on regard for humanity. We'll keep doing that right here on the new After Hours Radio Show. Until next time, guys, love each other. Take care. All right, guys, it has been another awesome one. Glad we could get this one in the books. Once again, we do appreciate everybody who's come on in tonight. Make sure, like I said, if you're here for the first time, consider hitting that like button. Also, please consider hitting that subscribe, because we would love to have you come in for future shows. We do this show on Saturdays, which is the After Hours Radio Show. We do the definitive UFO News Show, which we run on Wednesdays. We also do the Friday Night Live call-in show, where you call in, you get on stage, have conversations about maybe some of the things we talked about recently, or just things that you have seen within the UFO news. Also, I drop little videos called UFO Minutes, which is essentially the latest information, bite-sized content on the latest things happening within the community. I will be dropping one here shortly, maybe tonight or tomorrow, that talks about, the whole story that we looked at earlier with Anna Paulina Luna and the whole CIA involvement in going in and taking some files. Like, what's that all about? We'll be talking about that and more. And yes, I will be getting some honey and warm lemon juice. And then I'm pretty sure my voice will be back full swing for the very next show. So I had to make sure that we did this. I didn't want to push it out. And I do appreciate you guys sitting with me and dealing with it as we went ahead. Maybe this is a new thing. Maybe it'll sound good when I listen back. I don't know. But with that being said, guys, just make sure, please, once again, on the way out the door, at least please hit the like. Leave a comment on the show as well. Let everybody know what you thought about it. You can share this. This is the big thing. I want to start getting people to share. So if you ever hit the share button below these videos, you'll get an option that says copy link. And you can take that link and go and post it on your social medias. If you post it there and say, hey guys, come and check out the show, it was awesome, then people that come to your social medias will be able to click on said video and then come in and enjoy the show as well. That way we can build a larger community on the road to 1,000 subscribers. As we talked about with Sir Bryan Bowden, we got a lot of good stuff coming. We got Preston Dennett stepping in the building next week. Always a great conversation with him as well. We're going to make sure that we keep bringing people that you guys like to hear from. So if you have any other ideas of people you want to have come on this show, please reach out to me. You can leave it in the comment section of this video or go into the community section on my page and leave some names there. We'll reach out, see if we can get them on the show. With that being said, guys, we're going to get up out of here the same way we came up in here. We want retribution. You know how it goes. We're getting up out of here, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Until next time, we're out.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.